We are live. So we're here with Flash Knockdown news. There's been quite a few little news articles since our podcast yesterday, and me and Nathan are here to touch on them together. You okay, Nathan?
Yes, mate.
That's good to hear, man. So the first thing I saw was Babet Shumanov. I never know how to pronounce his first name, but Shumanov has announced his comeback and ended his retirement. Interesting stuff. Any thoughts on this, bro?
I think basically it's all a bit fishy because obviously he had that eye injury, and then Dorticus was his mandated challenge. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? If
Mm,
Dorticus, if he avoided it, then made it worse than what it was. So his eye injury couldn't be that bad if he's coming back, could it? Really?
sure, it does smell of David Hay a little bit when he did his shoulder and then said he had ended his career and then now he comes back. It does always look dodgy when someone does that, but maybe he got a second opinion. Maybe he found another doctor who told him wasn't as bad as what they first thought. Sometimes you have to give the benefit of the doubt, I suppose. So,
But with
um,
Shumanov, with coming back, it makes me think we're just going to see him fight the same kind of BC level rubbish he's been fighting for the last 10 years.
sure. I
Yeah,
mean, to be honest with you, I've quite enjoyed some of
I like him.
Shumanov's fights. He's defeated four world champions: Campillo, Byron Mitchell, William Joppy, and Montel Griffin. None of them are world beaters, but it's not a terrible accomplishment. We've got to remember that these divisions have been a bit light over the last few years. It's only recently that the cruiserweight divisions sort of come back into major prominence. So, I don't know if he's got a couple of fights left in him. It'd be interesting. He's only 34,
I,
so he's not
I know. I mean,
completely over the hill for that division. You know what I mean? Like it's
but you
not.
wouldn't put him in. But you wouldn't put him in with any of the so-called champions, would you? I mean, really, right now.
Not right now because he's off. He's coming off 18 months and a big injury. But maybe after a fight or two, you might put him in with Bradis or Gassiev. Maybe it'd be interesting. Be interesting. I don't mind seeing him come back and fight. It's not like he's so old that it's stupid or he doesn't have any chance. He might be able to win himself a title, get himself a couple of paydays. Fair play to him. It's interesting. I'll watch for who he's going to fight. You're probably right. It's not. He's probably not going to be thrown in against any of the top guys straight away.
He'll probably manage to win another world title somehow.
That's what I mean.
As he
That's
has
why.
done. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why he's somewhat interesting. Like, he's been carried the right way through his career. He had yeah, he's beaten some okay people. BJ Flores. I mean, he's not great, but
But you
Danny
wouldn't fancy his chances
Santiago,
against Teddy
Tamas
Bellew, would you?
Kovac. Oh, what
Not at
Shumanov?
all. I mean, no, I don't think you'd beat
I
Bellew at all.
I I personally think it would be a good fight, but yeah, I'd lean Bellew. Yeah, I would lean Bellew.
Because for me,
But
Sheminov is a light heavyweight. He's not. He's big, but he doesn't have that power or the presence. Like Brendan
no,
Straub or Ricky Morton.
he's only had 11 knockouts in his 17 wins. So, yeah, I mean, to be fair to you, I agree. It's not the most exciting return, but I kind of like Shumanov. I've somehow ended up watching a few of his fights because he's been on undercards that I'm watching or stuff like that. So, I've kind of followed his career a little bit. So, good luck to
He's a
him. I
clever
hope he
guy. He's got
should.
degrees in law and stuff. He's
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. So that's what I
yeah.
mean. Like, if he gets a couple of wins, couple of paydays, and re-retires, fair play to him.
I'll be
Good
happy
luck
for
to
him. He's
Shumanov.
one of those.
Yeah,
Could he
yeah,
campaign at heavyweight? It wouldn't surprise me.
yeah. For
Anyway,
for a payday, anybody can
yeah, of
campaign
course.
at
Anyway,
heavyweight. It
you've
seems.
got
Look at
you've got to.
look at look at Andre Ward going up to 199 at the
Oh,
moment.
God.
Crazy stuff. We'll have to mention that in another video though. So
Here we go.
here is an absolutely I mean, we've known it for a while. This isn't a bombshell because we've known this was coming. But the Canelo versus Golovkin rematch has been finalised for May 5th. HBO pay-per-view on Cinco de Mayo, the big Mexican holiday. It's going to be a barnstormer again. First one was a great fight, marred by the judging a little bit. People said, maybe Golovkin won, maybe Canelo won. People were a bit sick at a draw, but a draw's a draw. I kind of scored. I actually had it a draw on my first time of scoring it. So,
do you know what? I think Canelo's going to do him this time. I think Canelo's got the hunger. I think he can do it. I'm going with him to win this fight.
I didn't see enough from him in the first fight. I personally, on the second time I scored the fight, I had GGG winning by 1 round. I think GGG is going to surprise everybody in this fight, and I think he's going to box on the back foot. That's my wild prediction. I don't think he's going to come forward and let Canelo counterpunch him. I think he's going to make Canelo fight a different fight, completely different. A bit like, and now this is a really, really weird comparison to make, but a bit like what Liam Smith did to Liam Williams in the second fight. Everybody expected Liam Smith to just come in and same style, come forward and go to the body and go to war, but instead he boxed and moved on the back foot, and everyone was like, what the hell is this? And I think we might see some of that amateur pedigree come out in Golovkin in this fight. I think he'll look to do it a very different way because he knows that the judges in Las Vegas will not give him credit for pressure. He did not get a lot of credit for pressure in the first fight, for ring generalship of controlling the rounds, which he was doing quite well in some rounds. So I think he'll look to sort of sneak a fight the way you can in Las Vegas. It's going to be very interesting.
But Triple G, we've seen it the last 2 fights. He's kind of aged. You can see it. And
I don't think he looked aged in the Canelo fight. I think he'd had a nice. If you remember, leading up until that fight, he had a nice long break whilst they made that fight, and he looked good in it. I think he looked bad in the Jacobs fight because he'd been fighting back to back to back in a row. He'd fought Brook recently, and he'd fought before that. He fought maybe 4 times that year, the year he fought Jacobs. So in that sense, I kind of agree with you. He did look like he was aging and slowing down, and maybe this.
I don't think he's going to have that title in 2 or 3 years' time. I think he'll lose it or he'll retire by then.
Sure, and maybe this time that they've managed to, because it's been a long time since the first fight, maybe they've managed to drag him down the road another year, and he has aged more, and that could benefit Canelo. It could, but I don't think he'll fight the same style. I think he's gonna bring a very different equation to the table, a very different set of problems, because he can do that, and not many people have seen him do it, and it's going to be interesting.
I'm surprised Canelo's even taken the rematch, to be honest.
I am too. I felt he got away lucky. I felt he kind of escaped with his belts and the draw in that fight, and I feel that unfortunately, if they have taken the rematch, I feel like they're confident it will go their way, whether that means judges or referee or whatever. I don't think they're risking their cash cow again. It was so close. I think the first time was pretty legitimate. I'd wonder about the scorecards in this one. I don't think Gennady Golovkin can win this fight without a knockout, personally.
I mean, Canelo's going to have to. He could probably drag out a controversial points decision win,
That's what I mean. He got schooled by Mayweather, and one judge gave him a draw.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends, don't it?
That's what
Really,
he is the absolute king of gift scorecards. It's undeniable at this point. We know it. So yeah, we will see. We will see. I'm excited for the fight, but nervous and apprehensive because we all know what happened after the first one around the judging and how everybody felt around that. Uh, Great fight for boxing if it goes well. I hope we have a knockout either way. It's unlikely, but I just hope there's a decisive winner.
I mean, whoever wins this fight's going to be involved in a big unification anyway.
Sure, and to be honest with you, and this is an interesting topic, currently in their current form, with how irregular both of them have been fighting, because when you do these super fights, you get out of rhythm. I would pick Billy Joe Saunders to beat either of them after this fight. He's too good. Whoever wins is probably handing over all three belts to a gypsy.
I think he looks the best right now. I mean, I put him in favourite with any of those two guys.
Neither of those two guys could do what Billy did to Lemieux. No way. Not like that.
Made him look rubbish.
Not like that. I know they beat Lemieux, and I know they stopped him in different ways, right? But Lemieux held his own for the rounds he was in there against. It was Golovkin he fought, wasn't it, Lemieux?
Yeah.
And he held his own whilst he was in there, but he eventually just got outgunned. Whereas Billy made him look like he shouldn't have even been in the same ring. So it's kind of levels. I think we're going to see some interesting build up if that fight does come because Billy will sell it. I personally hope the fight is. I hope it's against Golovkin because Canelo will not even attempt to speak a word of English in the build up, and I think it will be a really boring build up if it's Canelo versus Billy. But Golovkin versus Billy, I think Billy will get under his skin.
Oh god, yeah. Good. I think it'd be a good fight.
Yeah, it's great. But I can't wait. I can't wait. I personally lean towards Golovkin. You're leaning Canelo. But everybody can admit that either of these guys could win this fight. And that's what makes an elite top fight. We're lucky to get this rematch. I'm very happy it's on. And yeah, I really cannot wait for it at all. May 5th cannot come too soon, in my opinion.
It should be good. I'm looking forward to seeing this fight, but I'm definitely going to pick Canelo to win.
Fair, fair. I can't argue too much. Either guy can win this. It's going to be close, whoever wins it, and people are going to argue whoever wins. That's my final prediction. Right. Now we're moving on to another story that is absolutely massive, in my opinion. Ohara Davis inks promotional pact with Frank Warren. I'm looking at an article here. But before I go into any of that, what are your thoughts on it, man?
What, on the Ohara Davis?
Yeah.
I think it'll end in tears. I don't see anything good can come from this. I really don't trust Frank Warren. I don't think Frank Warren will know what to do with an Ohara Davis. So far, I don't think he'll be able to control him. If Eddie Hearn couldn't control him, then maybe if he went to America or something, I think that would be his best. I just don't think it's a good move for him.
That's an interesting opinion. I actually think it's a great move for him. I actually think Frank Warren will not stand any of his nonsense. And so I think Frank Warren's probably signed him on the condition that, like, yeah, you can mouth off, you can be somewhat arrogant when you're in, press conferences, but just stay off Twitter. I think that's probably been said. I think that's probably been agreed upon. Yeah, I'm happy he's going to be fighting on UK TV. He's only lost to one elite fighter, and every other fight he's had, he's not really put many. He's not really gone wrong at any other turn. So
I just don't think some people, once they've made their mind up with people, that's it. You know, I just think he's one of them. You either like him or you hate him. I think he could win a world title, but you know,
I think he can. To me, he reminds me of the James DeHale, George Groves situation, where it's two elite fighters fighting each other way too early, and the both of them went on to win a world title. I think that could well happen for Ohara and Josh Taylor, and I think we might even see a rematch later on down the line too. So I personally think it's great that he's still going to be on British TV. I think he's a good fighter. I think he's a good personality. It's just
can give him the control, give him the conditions that if he messes this up, his chance of making it.
Well, I think he knows. I think he knows. Once you've been fobbed off by one of the two top British promoters, you can't fuck off.
Out of doors.
Yeah, you can't fuck off number two. So I personally think he knows. I think he is a quality fighter. I think Frank Warren will benefit from having him on the BT cards. There's some BT cards that I sometimes don't tune into, but if he's on the bill, I might, you know what I mean? Like Frank Warren's doing a good job of slowly adding talent that people want to see, and people do want to see Ohara Davies. Whether they want to see him win or lose, it doesn't really matter. They still want to see him. So I'm excited for it. I'm glad he's still going to be fighting on British TV. I personally, you know what my opinions on what he said. He's clarified it further. I think there's no real question that he wasn't and did not mention Hillsborough in his tweet, and that's not what he was referring to. So I personally felt like he was hard done by. I think a lot of people, if you look on the YouTube comment sections, had also started to agree with that point. If you look at his IFL interview he did, I think a lot of people were coming down on his side. So, yeah, I think it's good. I think he's still got a fan base. I think he's still going to be an interesting fight. So I think it would be a shame to not be able to see a good talent over a misunderstanding of tweets. I think that would be ridiculous. So on TV, basically, that's where I come down on that.
As long as he stays off Twitter and he listens to what Frank says and what.
Sure, some people are. Sure, I mean, what he tweeted was dumb because obviously people can. The little trick. Don't tweet. People are looking to take what you say, spin it in the worst possible light, and take offense to it, because that seems to be the culture we live in sometimes, where nobody gives people the benefit of the doubt. Nobody really wants to give people a second chance. Everyone's looking to be outraged. So it is stupid. He should have been coached on how his tweets will be perceived. But that being said, I think, you know, he's probably learnt his lesson. He's probably not going to bother tweeting anything when, you know, people have been taken out of context over even weirder stuff recently in the media, in American politics, in British politics. Everyone gets, you know, someone digs up a tweet from 5 years ago, 10 years ago. There was a football player a couple of years ago who made some like, Gary Neville, and this other young guy. He was like, I think his name was Gray or something, and he tweeted some stupid shit. It was stupid. It was offensive. It was homophobic, but he did it when he was like 13, and they actually banned him for a few games. And it's like, what? Do you think he's not changed his opinion between 13 and 23? That's ridiculous. So yeah, I think be careful with what you say on Twitter. People, not even, it doesn't even, you don't even have to be looking to offend someone. People will try and take what you're saying the wrong way because they have nothing better to do in their lives, it seems. So he's back on TV in that sense because he didn't really do much wrong. People deserve a second chance.
I'll give him a year and he'll be out. Nobody will ever remember his name.
Ohara. I
think he'll be honest.
I think he'll pull it together. I think he'll get this. I personally really think talent shines through. And when I watch him box, and I've watched most of his fights, he seems to have a very awkward and odd style, but he has very long arms, very long levers for his weight class, and he has power. And those two things can take you quite a way in those divisions. So I personally think it's great to see him still boxing. Let's hope Frank can sort of keep him off social media for the most part. I reckon they'll probably give his social media accounts over to a marketing agency to handle for him. That would be my guess.
It would make more sense, wouldn't it?
It'll keep him out of trouble.
With him, I mean, he must be scared to go out with some of the tweets he's written, you know. I'd fear for him, to be honest. I really don't. I don't think he said anything that offensive. I personally think it's mostly banter. It's mostly just boxing chat. He gets some horrific tweets sent at him too. He sort of showed some of those, and you know, it's two wrongs don't make a right, but at the same time, like these people on Twitter are willing to give him shit, so they should be able to take shit too. So I don't know, man. I personally come down on the side of free speech and letting people speak. I don't think you should stop a man fighting because of words he said. We've had boxers threaten to kill people. We've had boxers threaten to eat people, rape people. We've had all sorts of shit in boxing. So it seemed weird to draw the line at Ohara Davis. I see what you mean, yeah. It's blown out of proportion.
That's what I mean. It's when you put it in context of biting people's ears off and throwing people into tables, and
it's a bit
he's tame. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm glad he's back on TV. Let's see who he's fighting next. Let's get him a world title shot. Let's see if he can do it.
I'm looking forward to it. I think he can make all the difference.
Right. I think we've done that one to death. Good luck to Ohara. Good luck to Frank. I hope it's successful to both of them. But now we have the comedy article of the week. The best bit of news. The big name. The huge name. The massive name. The monstrous name that Amir Khan is going to be fighting. Phil LaGreco. Ever heard of Phil LaGreco before he was announced to fight Amir Khan?
No, never.
No, same, man. It's painful. We were hearing of big names. We were hearing of these big comeback fights that he was going to be having. And instead, we've got a Canadian called LaGreco. So, I mean, it's only a 10-round fight as well. And LaGreco weighed in at 163.5 pounds for his last fight. And this fight is going to be at 147 pounds. Greco's last fight was an 8-round majority decision win over some journeyman called Jesus Garola. Yeah, it's not a good fight, man. It leaves a lot to be desired. I get that he's been out of the ring. I get that he's got a glass chin. But why are they bringing some middleweight down to 147 if he's got a glass chin? Surely that's stupid in itself. Yeah. I mean, the only losses LaGreco Lo Greco has had have been against Errol
Errol
Spence and Sean Porter and Joseph Legale. So, I mean, he's lost to okay guys, but he's lost.
He's a career. I mean, this guy's a career bloody middleweight or super welterweight.
Yes, 154. Yeah, he's going to struggle with the weight, and he's going to be drained as shit. And it's a 10-rounder. Yeah, and it. Yeah, it's.
He's not a hard hitter, this guy, from what I can tell.
Yeah, it's a trash fight. I'm reading the comments here. I'm reading the comments, and it's a trash fight. Everyone agrees it's a trash fight. People are saying the only thing that could make it interesting is if Le Greco comes in heavy on purpose, and that is true. That would be funny if he just fuck my payday. I'm just gonna come in at 154.
If they do,
knock out Khan.
Will he lose some of his pay or something? Will they just make?
Yeah, he'd lose his payday, but he'd probably knock out Khan if he came in real heavy. It'd be funny. Man, if Khan loses to Le Greco, it's over. That free fight promotional contract that Eddie Hearn signed that looked like a good idea, I don't think you can tear it up, but it will look like a terrible idea if this fight goes wrong.
Khan doesn't need the money anyway. He's got plenty of money. I don't know what his motivation is anyway, apart from Kell Brook.
I think both of their motivation is to make a happy retirement paycheck off that pay-per-view, because it could still be massive. If Khan dominates this guy 10-0 and Brook knocks out Rubchenko or the guy he's fighting, then I think people will be like, oh yeah, let's see that fight at 154 pay-per-view. I think people will start calling for it if they both look good when they win.
Do you know what the problem with this fight is? It's a fight that should have been made about 3 years ago.
Sure, it's one of those fights where they left it to sizzle, and then they left it to sizzle some more, and then they burnt it.
It's almost like when Ricky Hatton was meant to face Junior Whittam and the fight never got made.
Sure, but for my money, it's they left it to sizzle. Sort of the perfect time would have been to fight before Brook fought Golovkin and Khan fought Canelo. Before that,
career would be over by now if they'd done it.
Maybe, but he'd have made. That's true. Maybe it was smart for Khan to take that loss then, because he earned more money and can still continue fighting. So maybe he's a smarter businessman than we give credit.
I mean, I think what they'll do is him and Khan will have this fight, and they'll probably have another fight, another one, and then they'll fight on the third fight.
I personally think it will be pretty much announced after this. After they win, I think so. I think it's probably done. I think the fight is probably sure, but I think the fight is probably signed. I think it's probably part of why Khan joined Matchroom. I just don't think they want to announce it until they've both had a win, because that will build the hype. But I think the fight's done. I don't think Khan would have signed for Matchroom if he wasn't ready to sign the Brook fight.
I think it's a good fight. I mean, I want to see the fight, but I just want to see both fighters come through these opponents they've got. I mean, Brook's got the tougher fight, got a much tougher fight.
Sure. It's not a tough fight, but it is a tougher fight for sure. Definitely.
I mean, imagine all it takes is one kill to get one punch in the eye and it's over, you know.
I disagree. I think people are so far. Why don't people say that about Miguel Cotto? He's had both his eye sockets broken. Or Paulie Malignaggi. He's had the same exact break on the orbital bone, and the same doctor fixed it.
Because Paul Malignaggi didn't fight a train at middleweight. You know, there's a difference with the punches that they took. You know.
Sure, but Cotto took some big blows. Like
he did, yeah.
That's what I mean. And he had his orbital broken by old plaster hands,
I know.
Margarito. So my point is, just because your orbital breaks doesn't mean it will break again. Kel was just fucking shit unlucky to have one break and then the other one break in the next fight. In fact, after you break a bone, it usually heals stronger. So the doctor has told Kel it's very unlikely these will break again after they've healed and set because your bones grow stronger. He's just super unlucky with the shape of his face.
We'll see what happens. I mean, I think Kel could go on for another 2-3 years if he's matched right.
Sure.
That's what I believe, you know. But not.
I think Khan's a perfect match because Khan's never going to break someone's orbital bone.
No, never. And Brook would end up winning anyway. I think he'd knock.
Same. I have the same feeling. It would look much like the Khan Canelo fight with Khan probably dominating the early rounds on points, but getting caught late.
But Brook's too strong for him. He's too physically
That's
strong.
Exactly. Yeah.
Pull him, it'll be a mismatch.
He would catch him. Yeah, he would catch him late rounds. That's my personal opinion as well. Is Khan would probably dance the first few rounds, probably nick them on points, but he will slow down, especially if it's at 154, and he'll get caught 6, 7 rounds, 6, 7, 8, something like that.
Yeah, I'm just seeing if there's any other news to go with.
Well, I had whilst you're doing that, I had one thing I wanted to shout out. My good friend Ollie Rimington, I actually went to school with him in Colchester. He is having a fight at the Charter Hall in Colchester. Tickets are £60 VIP ringside with waitress service, or £30 for just a standard ticket, and that's on the 28th of April. So if anyone's in or around Essex or Colchester and wants to go and have a good little night of boxing, it's the Essex Boxing Organisation. You can add them on Facebook and inquire about tickets.
Right, the news in Conor Benn has been added to the Khan McGreco fight.
The card, great. That's good. Conor Benn's a fascinating fighter because he's terrible. But he's good. He's good offensively. He has good offense, but he's terrible defensively. He's been knocked out. We've seen him knocked down a few times now. Didn't he get like a lucky win in his last fight, or was it a draw?
He got a lucky win.
He got a lucky win. Yeah, I felt he lost that fight.
Let me see who he's got.
Oh no! Actually, I felt he drew that fight. I didn't feel he lost it. I felt he drew it because it was even number of knockdowns, wasn't it? So fascinating. He's so fragile that I love watching him fight now. He's not a welterweight. They need to get him boiled down to 140, or he's going to get knocked the fuck out when he steps up.
He'd be lucky if he gets the British title, won't he, at this rate?
Sure. You can't have life or death wars with journeymen. That's not the point of those fights. You're supposed to be learning your craft, not. I mean, if that's his craft, right? If his craft is to get banged the fuck onto the floor and then have to come back and wing punches and get a lucky punch in the last round, then he's fucked. Because that was not good.
I'm starting to think this boxing probably isn't him. Part of me thinks, yeah.
Well, I mean, he's got some skills, but he's got no defense, and that's a big problem. And I think personally, like, what would you do right now with him? You can't step him up because
make him face easier.
That's it. That's it. You have to get
a big fight.
That's what I would do.
If he kept on fighting rubbish people, he could get a big fight, possibly get some sort of a title.
We have to remember he had no amateur career, and in some ways, he'll be a bit like Anthony Yard in that he'll probably have 20 fights before he fights anyone remotely good. So
wouldn't he be better off going backwards, going back to the drawing board, stop, and then learning his craft all over again?
not
He's only 19.
not overly. I think he's gonna have to. I think he's going to have to move down because those guys are so much bigger than him that they don't even have to be powerful, and they seem to be hurting him.
Could you imagine if his dad?
He winced a lot in that last
if his
fight.
dad was Chris Eubank Senior, his dad wouldn't have let him turn pro by now, would he?
No, well, Eubank Jr. didn't have much of an amateur career, and some of his early fights are sloppy.
But Nigel Benn hasn't really been there, has he? He's not really getting involved.
From what I understand, no, but that might just be for the cameras who they might just want to be in contrast to the Eubanks. Like, oh yeah, we're not the Eubanks sort of thing. But I don't know. I think Conor Benn has a future. They've just got to build him very, very slowly.
It's going to take 3 or 4 years, and they've got 4
sure.
He's only 19, so build him up.
Sure, exactly.
Start again, and build it up. So in 3 years' time, he's got the skill. He's got the chin.
Sure, and grow him into welterweight. I would try and get him down.
His career, wouldn't it? And a loss now would damage him. His career.
Not. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Depends on his character. Johnny Nelson lost his first 3 fights and then went on to defend the cruiserweight title more times than anyone else has in history. So, I mean, a loss can help you if you look at it the right way. But I don't know. I don't know his personal makeup, but I imagine it would probably shatter his image, yes.
Okay. I've got nothing more to say on that matter, I think.
Yeah, man, that's probably us for the news update. It was just some very interesting articles there to touch on, get our opinions out on the good stuff, actually. We've got Shumanov coming back. We've got Canelo Golovkin rematch confirmed. We've got Ohara Davis signing with Frank Warren. It's interesting. You and a Baron Singh, shout out to a Baron Singh. You have the same opinion on that, and he thought that it was a bad move because Frank Warren, for similar reasons, he just didn't trust Frank Warren with a young, social media friendly fighter. He thought that Frank wouldn't necessarily know. Yeah, but I personally think that Francis and the other George are probably running more and more stuff to do with the social media these days because BT have been okay with some of their content on social media of late.
I just think
good marketing.
He hasn't moved with the times.
Sure, but that's why I think he's slowly handing over to his sons, Francis and George, and I think they do get that side of it a lot more. There's some good interviews with Francis and George Warren on IFL. If anybody hasn't seen them, they're a bit old now, but still worth a watch.
Okay, don't forget to click the subscribe button and spread the word.
And for the next show, I should have a ring the bell sound effect set up. So every time we change topic, it will be like ding ding ding. But you'll have to wait one more week in anticipation for that.
And share this video, people. We want to get out there and we want to get huge.
Please share, like, thumb up the video, subscribe. Our Twitter and Facebook links are in the bio, in the description of the video. So yeah, thanks everybody.
Is every Monday.
It will be podcast number 2 coming on Monday.
Okay, thank you, Luke.
Peace, man. Thanks for being on. It was a good discussion. Thanks for bringing some of those articles to my attention. And if there's any more pressing news, you may see another flash knockdown news from this channel. Peace out, everyone.